Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, April 20th. This is our second week of enrichment activities, and I have a couple of PowerPoints for review, and we are going to read a short story that some of you read in the beginning of the year. Some of you chose not to read it, so you chose different short stories. So we're getting a second opportunity to read this short story and do some activities this week based on the short story. I also was able to find a film version, so that's great too. So let's go ahead, and before we get to the short story, we're going to review literary point of view and perspective. We did a little bit of this right before we left in March when we were reading the Matt de la Pina story. So this is just complete review. So point of view again, literary point of view is the narrator's point of view, who is telling the story. So of course when we have first person, the main character is telling the story. Keywords of course are I, me, we, my, our, and ours. Problem with first person narrator, we often find the narrator unreliable. We're not going to talk about that so much today because we're not reading anything from first person. Second person is the rare form. This is the point of view from which the Matt de la Pina story was written. And he did that very specifically to try to pull you, the reader, into the story. So that's the you, your, and yours. Third person is, we're looking at a short story today that is told in third person limited today. The author and narrator is telling the story, but is not necessarily part of it if it's objective, okay? We're going to talk about omniscient and limited in a moment. So the keywords he, she, it, they, and them. So again, what we're going to be talking about today is the third person omniscient and third person limited omniscient, or at least the story that we're reading is third person limited. So omniscient again means all knowing. So when it's third person omniscient, we as a reader still told in with the he, she pronouns, but we as the reader can know the thoughts of all the characters. If it's limited, the one that we're reading today is limited omniscient, we only have the insight to one, maybe two characters, but today it's just one character, his thoughts. Okay, and once again, the Matt de la Pina story was told in second person. That is very rare. We do, and I believe I had mentioned this when we were in school, that there are some authors, Charles Dickens was known for it, Catcher in the Rye, uh, Salinger, gosh, the author escaped me. It's morning. I haven't finished my first cup of coffee yet. There are some authors who will use second person, periodically or for a moment or two within a larger piece of work, but when they use that second person, specifically Salinger and specifically Dickens, they have the narrator speak directly to you, the reader. So it's a little different than what we had read. Okay, so I'm going to review first person, third person limited, and third person omniscient specifically, and then you're going to do a little activity on the form. So first person, in the first person point of view, the narrator is the character in the story. Using the pronoun I, this narrator tells us his or her own experiences but cannot reveal the private thoughts of other characters. When we read a story told in first person, we hear and see only what the narrator hears and sees. This is why first person can be considered an unreliable narrator. We may have to interpret what this narrator says because the first person narrator may or may not be objective, honest, or perceptive. Okay, that's the whole idea of the unreliable narrator. Third person limited, limited third person point of view. The narrator is outside the story like an omniscient narrator, but tells the story from the vantage point or perspective of only one character. The narrator can enter the mind of this chosen character, but cannot tell what any other characters are thinking, except by observation. This narrator can only go where the chosen character goes. And then we have the omniscient. In the omniscient or all-knowing point of view, the person telling the story knows everything that's going on in the story. This omniscient narrator is outside the story, a godlike observer who can tell us what all the characters are thinking and feeling, as well as what is happening anywhere in the story. Okay? Third person objective, we sometimes not the omniscient, I'm just giving you the third person objective. The other third person is more like a bird's eye view as opposed to the omniscient, which is godlike. So the bird's eye view sees from above, but the godlike can see within and without. Okay, so I'm going to pause this segment or stop this segment of the PowerPoint. You're going to do a couple of activities, then come back and watch one more segment of the PowerPoint.